Today, we're going to be looking at how to make good decisions
Huh.
when you're just surrounded by tons and tons of data.
Right.
We'll be looking at a point of view document written by Konstantin Magdalena.
Okay.
And he is an expert in emerging trends and technologies.
Yeah.
He's got like 15 years of experience working with large companies.
Wow.
He's got a background in both marketing and IT.
Interesting combination.
So he's really seen firsthand
yeah.
how data can be both like a gold mine, but also like a minefield.
Like a double-edged sword in a way.
Exactly. And he really emphasizes
Yeah.
that like organizations today are just drowning in data.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Like there's just so much coming from every direction.
Absolutely.
Financial reports and customer interactions and market trends
It's never ending.
and, competitor analysis, all that stuff.
Just piles and piles of it.
But what he warns is that without a critical eye, all this data can actually lead to worse decisions,
Oh, that's interesting.
not better ones.
Yeah, it's not a guarantee just because you have data
Right.
that you're going to make good decisions.
Yeah, it's not like a magic
Yeah.
solution.
Yeah, I think of it like
Yeah.
like you're a doctor and you're trying to diagnose a patient.
Right.
You've got all these like test results and medical history.
Right.
But if you don't look at it critically, you might miss a key symptom.
You could miss something important.
Yeah, you could totally misinterpret the data,
Yeah.
which would lead to the wrong treatment.
Exactly.
So it's really important to analyze that information critically.
And I imagine in the business world,
Yeah.
this would be like, launching a product that nobody wants or investing in like a strategy that's just going to fail.
Exactly, like a bad marketing campaign or something.
Yeah.
You put all this money into it, but you didn't really analyze the data.
Right.
So it's a waste.
So that's where critical thinking comes in.
Yes, exactly.
It's about dissecting that information.
Mm-hmm.
It's about questioning all of your assumptions,
Right?
considering the different perspectives.
And not just taking everything at face value.
So it's not enough to just be like data-driven.
Right.
You need to be data-discerning.
Yeah, you need to be able to pick out the good stuff from the bad stuff.
Yeah.
Now you might be thinking, oh, well, that's where AI comes in.
That's what I was going to say.
Right.
Yeah.
And in some ways, you'd be right.
Okay.
AI can do so much for us.
Yeah. It can process tons of information
It can find patterns that we would never be able to see.
that we would just totally miss.
Right, but here's the thing.
Okay.
It can't replace human judgment.
You think so? It seems like AI is always
Right, I agree.
portrayed as this like all-knowing
Yeah.
oracle that can just solve every problem.
It's like the magic solution to everything.
Yeah.
It's not.
Okay.
We can't just blindly trust AI
Right.
because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
AI algorithms are made by people
That's a good point.
and people have biases
That's true.
and limitations.
Yeah.
So those biases and limitations are going to be reflected in the AI.
So we can't just hand over the reins.
Exactly.
We need to be the ones in control.
Yes. We need to be the ones making the decisions.
Okay, so using AI as a tool,
Yes.
but not as a replacement
Exactly.
for our own judgment.
It's like a calculator.
Oh, okay.
It can help you do math really fast,
Yeah.
but you still need to understand the concepts to
Right.
be able to use it properly.
This reminds me of all those times that you hear about like
Uh-huh.
companies making decisions based on AI.
Yes.
And then later they're like, oh,
Okay.
whoops, the data was bad or
Yeah, or the algorithm was biased.
something like that.
Right, like that time that online retailer
Oh, yeah.
tried to automate their hiring,
Right.
and the algorithm ended up discriminating against women.
Because it was trained on data
Yeah.
that was biased.
Exactly.
So we've established
Yes.
critical thinking is crucial
Absolutely.
for making these smart decisions.
Especially in the world of data overload. Okay, so what does that actually look like?
Yeah. What are some of those skills and strategies?
Well, Konstantin breaks it down into a few key areas.
Okay.
First, he says you need to be curious.
Okay.
You need to have a questioning mindset.
Question everything.
Yeah, don't just accept information at face value.
Okay.
You got to dig deeper.
Really get in there.
Ask why.
Why?
Why?
Okay.
Challenge those assumptions.
Don't make assumptions.
Explore different perspectives.
So be like a data detective.
Exactly.
You've got to look for clues, connect the dots,
Put the pieces together.
piece together the whole story.
And you have to be aware of your own biases.
Well, that's hard.
We all have them,
Yeah.
whether we realize it or not.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point.
It's really important.
We all have our own biases.
We tend to favor information that confirms what we already believe,
Right.
and we dismiss information that challenges us.
Yeah.
So you got to recognize those biases and
Be open-minded.
yes, see things from different angles. Be willing to challenge your own notions.
Okay, so
Another important thing is being able to evaluate information.
Okay.
Can you tell what's fact and what's fiction?
Fact or fiction?
Can you spot logical fallacies?
That's tricky.
Can you tell if a source is credible or not?
So many things to think about.
It is a lot to juggle.
Are there tools for that?
There are.
Oh, good.
And we're going to talk about those.
Great.
We'll explore some tips and tricks
I'm looking forward to that.
for being a better critical thinker.
Yeah, this has been a really
Yeah.
interesting exploration of why critical thinking is so important
It is super important.
in today's world.
Absolutely.
And I can see how it applies to not just business decisions, but just like every part of your life.
Every decision you make,
Exactly.
big or small.
It's just so valuable to have those skills.
It really is.
Welcome back. So before we go any further with like the actual how-to of critical thinking,
Right.
I think it'd be good to talk a bit more about like Konstantin's background.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Because he really does know what he's talking about.
It does. He really does.
And his expertise just adds so much weight
Yeah,
to his recommendations.
absolutely. So, like, he's got a master's degree in marketing and communication.
Oh, wow.
So that gives him, like, a really solid understanding of, how businesses work
Right.
and the decisions that they face.
Okay.
But he's also got certifications
Uh-huh.
in, like, Lean Six Sigma
Okay.
and ITIL.
So those are all about streamlining processes,
Exactly, yeah.
boosting efficiency.
So he's really thinking about
Yeah.
how to get the most out of things.
Right. So it's not just data, it's also the processes
Yeah.
and how everything works together.
Yeah, it's like a whole system.
Okay. And he's also certified by the Chartered Institute of Marketing.
Uh-huh.
So that just rounds out his expertise
Exactly.
in the business world.
And on top of all that,
Yeah.
he worked at a Big Four company.
Wow. So that's a big deal.
Big deal.
Those are like the top consulting firms.
Yeah, they handle like really, really complex problems.
Okay.
So while he was there, he coordinated all these different studies that were looking at the Romanian business environment.
Okay. Interesting.
So they were doing things like, economic growth forecasting, knowledge management, all sorts of stuff.
So he's seen firsthand how data is used in the real world.
Exactly. He's not just talking about it from a theoretical perspective.
Right. Like he's actually been in the trenches.
He's been there.
Dealing with all these data challenges.
Yeah, and that kind of experience is so valuable.
It is, because you can read all the books you want,
Yeah.
but it's not the same as
Actually
doing,
great.
yeah, like actually being there and making those decisions.
Exactly.
And on top of all that, he's also sought after speaker at all these business conferences, and he's written tons of articles.
Yeah, he's a thought leader in this field.
So he's not just someone who knows a lot about data.
Right.
He's also really good at communicating his ideas to others.
And that's so important.
It is, because if you can't communicate your ideas, it doesn't matter how brilliant they are.
Nobody will listen.
Okay, so now that we've kind of like established how awesome Konstantin is,
He's pretty awesome.
let's move on to the more practical stuff.
Okay.
You mentioned some tools and techniques for critical thinking.
Right.
So can you give me some examples?
Oh, yeah, for sure. So, like, one technique he talks about is the 5 whys method.
Okay, I've heard of that one.
Yeah, it's pretty simple, but it's super powerful.
How does it work?
Basically, you just keep asking why.
Okay.
Like, why did this happen, and then why did that happen?
Okay.
You just keep going until you get to, like, the root cause.
Oh, so it's like peeling back the layers of an onion.
Exactly.
Until you get to the core.
Yeah, it's all about getting past those superficial explanations.
Okay. And he also mentions the SWOT analysis.
Oh, yeah, that's a classic.
Yeah, the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats.
That's the one.
So that's about looking at a situation from different angles
Yeah,
and considering all the factors.
exactly. You got to look at the good and the bad.
I feel like this would be super helpful when
Yeah.
you're making like big strategic decisions.
Oh, yeah, totally. Like, should we launch this new product?
Yeah.
Should we enter this new market?
Okay.
SWOT analysis can really help you with that.
Okay, so beyond like the actual techniques, what about like
Yeah.
habits of mind?
Habits of mind. Oh, yeah, that's crucial.
So what kind of habits?
So one of the big ones is skepticism.
Skepticism.
Yeah,
Isn't that kind of,
I know it sounds negative,
yeah, like a negative word?
but it doesn't have to be.
Oh.
It's not about being cynical
Okay.
or distrustful.
Right.
It's about approaching information with a healthy dose of questioning. Like, don't just believe everything you read or everything you hear.
Yeah, especially these days.
Oh, especially these
There's
days.
so much misinformation out there.
It's like you got to be your own fact checker.
Yeah.
So skepticism is a really important skill.
Okay. And what about other habits of mind?
So another one is intellectual humility,
Okay.
which basically means knowing that you don't know everything
Oh,
and being open to learning from others.
okay. So being willing to admit
Mm-hmm.
that you might be wrong
Exactly.
and to change your mind
Yes.
when you get new information.
It's about being a lifelong learner.
I like that.
Yeah. Always be curious.
Always be learning.
Always be growing.
So it seems like critical thinking is really
Yeah.
a combination of mindset
Mm-hmm.
and also the specific techniques.
Yeah. It's both.
You got to have both.
It's like the yin and the yang.
Right.
And Constantine argues that this kind of thinking is essential for like everything.